Hey,
Yeah, yeah, very good.
Right.
That's
Okay,
it.
we're live.
We're not live yet.
It says live on
Oh,
mine.
we are now yet.
All right, guys. Welcome to my mate's creative podcast. Yeah, with me is Andy, who's audio post production, and Rob, who is video directing, and yeah, just a bunch of mates. Bunch of mates.
lads.
I want to say better met in uni. We met Rob in uni, and yeah, we're now just kind of talking like we used to in uni over online.
Yeah,
Yeah. Except that
Um,
Dave doesn't normally introduce us when we're talking just between ourselves. It's a bit weird.
that'd
yeah,
be good.
just
We could do that.
I've always done that. It's just like Dave, I've got to bring someone up with you after 12 years. You keep introducing us whenever we're in a room together. Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
comfortable with who I
it's,
am, man. You don't
it's just
have
my
to.
thing. I'd like to have a genuinely, uniquely weird thing like that. You know that you just always do and you never stop doing it.
Yeah, but you have no idea you do it. They're the best
Here
ones.
comes Dave. Here he comes. Here he comes. this is Rob.
Right.
Yeah.
So, based
Yep.
on based on what we were talking about last week, I one of the things that I was supposed to do, or that I did do, was go away and research what's probably going to be a more effective strategy to use on TikTok, rather than the week before it was that just to start posting, which I posted for
Yeah.
the whole week, learnt a few things. So this week just gone, I've been sort of looking into it a bit more, and similar to what you're doing, Dave, I think maybe the quick tutorial type thing is probably more of a good route for me to go down, because
Right.
TikTok seems to be, certainly for TikTok and maybe not as much for Instagram, but it's quite a lot human based. Like, it seems like you need like some sort of human element in there.
In the video.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're probably right there. Or a dog.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who seem to have quite successful channels just filming, Ableton or whatever software they're using. But
Mm.
I don't know if they come from a position of already having some followers and they go, "I'm just going to do this now
Yeah.
because it's easier."
Do you want to be on camera, or would you prefer not to be in camera in your TikTok videos?
I don't think I really mind either way. I just feel like if
Okay.
the issue with for me, which is an issue generally with social media content, is that
Mm.
if you're doing the tutorial style stuff, it's got to have be edited. It's like it's really hard to do it in one take. Like the stuff you're
Yeah.
doing on your Instagram now is maybe all the talking is all one take, but you've got bits cut into it, so you're still having to go to an edit with it, aren't you?
Yeah. I think because that was not because I like to play around. I'm lucky now that my studio is quite big. It's got loads of options for backgrounds. So I put wheels on this kind of high bench thing. I used it as a bar when I was doing
Oh yeah,
some certain videos. And I put wheels on it. I thought, I quite like something to lean on when I'm talking to the camera. And I kind of wheeled it around, and I was trying backgrounds with the same bullet points, but with different backgrounds. And I spent quite a while doing that. So by the time I used like the last take that I did, where I pretty much didn't need to chop any gaps really. I pretty much knew what I was saying because I'd said it quite a few times throughout the day, and just refining the tips. And I'm always, I,
You just cut in between your multi-camera setup then, though.
this time I didn't even use two cameras
mm.
because it's just more like crap getting in the way of like the content is king. And I tried having one camera that's just like your profile, and the other one's further out, and I'm sort of cutting in between them. And it's all getting in the way of just really, especially with something like that where I'm just trying to give some, you know, my 2 cents on something.
Yeah.
It just doesn't need it really. It's just more shit getting in the way of like just getting something out. And you know, in the end, as I say, the bit that seems to work the best is when you really know what you're trying to get across, because you speak better, you're more confident, you're smiling more, you know, you're not thinking about what you're saying as much, and you just kind of, and you get to enjoy it more. That's the bit that really I find comes across when you can kind of relax with what you're saying, and you sort of say it like, you know, they say try and talk to the camera like you're talking to your friend. And the amount of times where I forget that, and then later on I start to naturally think I'm just talking to a friend, and like those kind of takes, you just kind of know, that one will do. And ultimately, the less editing, you know, the better. It's so good when you just barely edit it and you go, I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Because that's one of the reasons we've gone for this format here, isn't it, rather than the podcast format, is because, you know, it takes time to edit. You know, whilst we all would probably be happy, you know, with whoever's edit, we're not going to start giving feedback on the edit. Like, it still takes time,
though, isn't it? Like, if we all edited this conversation, I would love to know. Because I tried editing one that we did that wasn't on here, and I sort of was going through it, and I tried to get like chopped down the first hour of us talking, and I was starting to think, am I leaving in more stories that I was talking just subconsciously? And I was like,
this is gold, this stuff. Yeah, this is brilliant.
Yeah, really awkward conversation afterwards. Like, yeah, Dave, it's pretty much you just banging on about shit for the whole hour. Oh, sorry. I just wanted to kill my darlings.
It's quite interesting what you're saying before, when you said you ended up just using one camera for your, because it's less hassle, essentially.
Yeah, it's
like giving yourself limitations. I mean, I know that's not really why you did it, but can really help improve workflow.
I think, exactly. Like, Rob, you know, jump on after I say this, but you know, if you've got your camera on a tripod, you just want it, if you're moving around, you want to make it as quick to set up and press record. When you've got two cameras and you're trying to move around, you just want it so whenever you feel an impulse to speak your mind about something that you're doing, if you can get it right when you're thinking about it, it's so much more guarantee that it's going to be a good
them sort of platforms as well. Like, you're not creating a cinematic masterpiece, are you? It's like it's a quick like ident almost. So it doesn't need to be more complicated than that, really, unless you're like a videographer who's trying to push the quality of their image. Then probably worth spending a bit more time on it, but it's not worth it for anything else, because the refresh rate is so quick, isn't it? Like we keep going back to, it's like, get an idea, get it in, ship it off, done.
That is interesting, because
with the accent, I love it.
The whole concept,
get it in, get it out, done.
Whole concept of your social media posting, like TikTok and not as much Instagram, is that it's, you know, direct handheld and stuff. Yeah, but I don't know. I'd be interested to know the amount of people who actually are just bashing it out on their phone.
So
I think that does depend on what sort of industry you're in, really. I think, like,
maybe that's my problem. Maybe I'm trying to make it look too nice and no one actually gives a shit.
I really like the stuff you did for TikTok. I think was really good, and I think it was almost a bit too good for TikTok from what I've seen of TikTok, if you know what I mean. It's a bit avant-garde for that audience.
Too good for TikTok.
Too good for TikTok, mate.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Because it was quite nice looking, chilled out.
Have you tried versions where you're in the shot with a tripod and you're sort of talking about little tips or tutorials?
No, not yet. There's a guy in the village here who's randomly said, asked if I wanted to borrow his old MPC 2000, you know, like the big DJ Shadow style drum machines. I was walking past and goes, "Oh, do you want to borrow? It's just in the cupboard collecting dust." And I was like, all right. So I might try.
Well, that would be a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, going to try and integrate that somehow. I don't know how to use it, but I'm sure it's not that hard.
Well, that's the first video, though, isn't it? Like, that's potentially the first of so many videos where it's like, right, I've got this thing, I don't know how to use it. Oh, hello. Yeah, I got this thing, don't know how to use it. And the first video is you talking about how you don't know how to use something.
Well, yeah, that's true.
With every video, especially with something as complicated as like an old drum machine, you know, they take a lot of working out those.
So many button
machines,
so much button pressing for the menus. And you see the people who are like just shit hot and fast on them.
Yeah,
I've got one. I don't think
I want to get
now
that
because it's so ball ache to get a pattern written because you have to go into like, just so many sub menus just on this clicky like. Oh, I hate it, man. Like. Nice sounds, like proper, 90s sounds. But
I feel like the people who look the best, making beats on those samplers are smoking a fag, and it's like 2 a.m, and they're in the studio, and they're just like, just getting one snare to sound good. That's just the blueprint to how I imagine everyone making beats on them.
Yeah.
Gotta be smoking, I think.
Hopefully, we went to look at a few houses this week with the vision of building a studio, a better studio than I've got now, like a bespoke space in the garden.
Right.
It's quite stressful. Like I've never really been to look at houses before to buy.
Horrible.
It's just like this garden's rubbish. You stretched the photo on the advert.
How wide was your lens?
Yeah.
I don't know. I never know.
Yeah,
with a mask on.
iPhone.
It's funny, like when you get any sort of concept of content, I find that I can't stop thinking about things that throughout the day that I might be able to use for it. So if you're looking at houses and you're trying to film yourself a lot at that point, you'd be like, how can I make this into a video that I'm looking for a house?
Yeah.
When you get really good at being a YouTuber or something, you must just be a maniac sometimes. Like everything you're thinking about all day, it's like, I can film this, make it into content.
Yeah.
Like,
oh God, make a YouTube video on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you sent over your I'm going to call it first draft, but it's more complete than a first draft of some content that you're working on. Which is, I don't know if you want to just briefly explain what it is.
Yeah, so it's the first video in my what I'm going to call like the Wild Father channel, which is a photography and video channel predominantly based around wildlife and probably landscape. And maybe a little bit more, but I don't know. I might just keep it to those two, so it's not too much of a wide base. But it's like it depends on which direction I go with it. Because I know in that video I'd spoken about how it was all about being a working father and trying to claim time back to going to the wild. Didn't really touch on that in that video, just because it didn't really fit within it.
Yeah,
so it depends how much that comes out in the channel. I think that will probably affect actually the content that I do.
Yeah.
So we'll just see how it goes for now.
I really like the sort of the more vloggy style of it. It's not good. It's not trying to preach anything other than go out and see some wildlife.
Yeah, that's it. I'm quite happy with that format. It works well. The only trouble with this one, because I didn't really know which direction I was going, I just had so much footage because I just basically shot all the time I was out for those days. So I had to sift through probably, I don't know, hundreds of gigabytes worth of footage just to condense it down into like a 12-minute video. So now that I know the format, I think I can pare that down and make it a bit of a simpler process.
Yeah.
That's the funny first thing I think that pretty much anyone who's trying to upload their first video, the first thing that you do, which is arguably the first mistake, is like even the shorter version is about 12 minutes long, which is like a short film. It's a 12-minute vlog, which I've definitely done in the past, where it's like pretty much.
Well, for statistics though, I kind of want them to be that long. Like, I think I want them to be over 10 minutes, certainly. That's the sort of, when you look at the arena that I'm going into, a lot of them are like 20, 30 minutes long.
True.
On these things. So it's like, you kind of got to match up with where you're hoping to place your video.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people who are interested in that sort of thing are interested in like a longer, lingering shot.
Yeah.
It's not quite as like bam, 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 bam as some of the other sort of.
Did you find that like you're having to think about the process of making this video about you trying to take photographs and film the hares detracted from the experience of trying to film the hares, like the actual, forgetting about the technical stuff, just the actual experience of being out there?
Yeah,
very good point.
Well,
very good point.
It kind of did, but so the video set over like, what is it, 4 or 5 days?
Yeah.
I probably went out closer to 6 or 7 because there were a couple of days in between where I just went out with my camera with no pressure to shoot.
Yeah.
But you know, I love doing video work, so like it doesn't.
True.
I don't feel like I'm missing out on much because when I'm not out shooting hares, I'm trying to get nice pictures of landscape or whatever.
Yeah.
But you are always trying to combine it. So yeah, there definitely has to be days where I'm dedicated to one or the other, and then there's in between days where I'm kind of like ready to go on either one. So it does alter the experience a little bit, but not really detrimentally for me.
Yeah.
Because
that vlog that vlog style is what you were saying there, Andy. I mean, I tried to vlog when I was traveling a lot to go and do events in London, and I was watching loads of vloggers, and I tried it a few times where I would show my process, you know, like a day in the life, and you get such little actual stuff done because you constantly like putting a camera, you know, outside and then going back in a building, like going back in the studio and filming you coming out and then moving it around and then like putting it in the back of your van so you get that cool shot of you opening it and it's in the van, it's someone in, and you're doing that, like, and then you get to events and it gets really weird when you're doing stuff in, like, you know, with people around and you're setting up a camera and doing things. And when I tried filming myself painting, like practicing again, I would finally stop the camera and go, I still haven't done anything. just setting the camera up in different places and sort of pretending to work.
Quite good in this format that I'm doing, because it is like I can almost shoot it on the next one going in, I think, like a before, maybe a during and an after, if you know what I mean. So you've got, so you're not actually interrupting your time out there, because it can be like, hi, well, I'm going here today, and then the next bit is actually doing, you know, if you've seen something, you got a good shot, but it's gone, and you can like have a little talk about it before you go and whatever. And it just, it makes it, I don't know, it's formulated it in my head a lot more of how I can streamline it and not have it interrupt my day, because it does do that. It takes ages. If you want nice shots, you have to sacrifice a lot of time, really, and walking backwards and forwards towards the camera, pretending that it's not there.
So Rob sent me and Andy his video, his first, and it's pretty interesting to see. It's so fascinating seeing someone that you know making a YouTube video. Like, it's such a great process. I watched it 3 or 4 times in bed and sort of was making lots of mental notes and stuff. Yeah, and I thought it was well funny that, because I'd done it myself, where you've lots of shots of you walking, and you think you're gonna have to go back and get that camera. And I was like, I wonder how. It was just funny little things like that. But did you find that, because you talk to the camera quite a bit in that, don't you? And then you've cut it up and put it in. Like, did you find that you could feel it when you were warming up, that you were changing
definitely
the way you're talking?
Yeah, it got better as the more I went on, and the little intersection bits, they were the most difficult, actually. I found whilst I was walking with the camera, it wasn't too bad, because you kind of like, you're doing stuff and you're just like, it's basically a stream of, you know, thought coming out your head that you're recording, so it's not too bad. But that bit, the bits in between where you're a bit more formal and like, you know, trying to that I reshot that about 4 or 5 times, and it still wasn't great on the last one, but it was like, it's good enough. Like until I think I've got, if I could build an audience and then engaging with, I can kind of imagine who it's going to, and I can talk to them, if you know what I mean. Instead of it just, because at the moment it's not anywhere, it's just a video that I've made. So it's a bit weird because I'm just out there talking to myself.
Did you feel like you were still even out in the bloody wilderness? Did you? I could see. I felt like at times you were doing that classic thing where you were kind of slightly, in small amounts, just checking that there's no one suddenly there walking their dog yet next to you. I don't know if I felt like that you were doing that quite a bit, because I know that feeling where you're like trying to talk but your eyes are going, because you're still quite aware. You've got to do it quite a lot before you genuinely.
You don't see that many people like round and about filming and talking to the camera. I saw someone in the village doing some wildlife thing once. I mean, not that many people in the overall size of the population.
Luckily,
make it
where I was then, the footpath, like it's only really used by people from our village, and they all know me as the,
give you a wide
guy who's out with his camera, like lying in bushes.
The guy who unnaturally sits on rocks and talks like that.
Yeah. So you're taking 2 cameras out with you, like the ones where you talk to camera. You got like just the Rode mic on top of the camera or whatever.
Yeah.
Or do you have to? Are you having to just taking one body and swapping lenses and stuff?
Well, that's a more complicated situation. So basically, I use 2 cameras. One's full frame and one's APS-C. So my APS-C cannot go as wide because it's got a 1.6. This is interesting for everyone.
Go on.
A 1.6 times factor on it. So if I put a 24mm on it, it times that by 1.6. So you end up with.
Okay.
So I really need to use the full frame. For vlogging, so that I can get that wider field of view, and the 1.6 crop factor is quite good for wildlife because it gives you extra reach. So it turns my 600mm into an 840mm or whatever. But then there's downsides if it's bad light or if it's whatever, because the full frame's better. So it is I'm always swapping and changing around what body I'm using. To what lens, but I can't really use the.
It's kind of inevitable, though, I suppose.
Yeah. That's it.
So you were talking, like in the video, you include the days where you barely saw a hair, and then the days as it goes on, it naturally starts to show more footage. Like I was watching it thinking I would probably get, just the way I'm thinking these days, where you chop things up more and more, I'd pretty much get rid of the days where you don't really see the hair and get a lot. Because the footage where the hair's in the shots, and even when you see that deer, it's an amazing photo. I think
that's not wildlife photography, though. Do you know
I know, but it's the same with when I edit my paintings, where I used to include me barely putting any paint on, and I don't know, it kind of works more when I start pretty much halfway through, because like. I know, I know it's hard to hear, and I can't see you changing based on that. But
I can see both sides.
I just don't see it like that anymore. I'm just like, chop it more, chop it.
Yeah,
the internet has ruined me.
I could see why what Rob's saying in terms of like to get the mood and the sort of ethos of what wildlife photography is about. You kind of got to change. You got to show the failures, the days where you don't get anything, because that's the reality of it.
And I think that's a big thing. Like I've done a lot of looking at videos, and what sort of content I should be including, and a lot of people get sick of like someone goes out, gets an amazing shot, and goes home again because they're like, that's not real. That's not what happens. Like it takes you a long time to do that. So I'm kind of trying to get into that a little bit and be like, this is the process, what you have to do.
It's like watching a fishing program and they go out and catch fish every fucking 5 seconds.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
That's really unrealistic.
Yeah. I've caught one. Gosh, shut up.
How big is it? Biggest one I've ever caught.
Yeah, until the one I've just caught.
Yeah.
So this is kind of based a bit around dealing with little fun failures all the way through these things that we try. So some of the things that I put down were, the first point was to try not to get too attached. If you're trying out something new, which we all kind of are at the moment, is to very much not get attached to the sort of, the first Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3 of like, so, yours, Andy, I suppose, with making a TikTok page has been, I don't know.
Well, I've got a similar thing at the moment where I've got an album with a publisher who likes the album. It's kind of like a retro kind of ravey, kind of like, old sort of Moby style sort of warehouse kind of rave stuff. And they wanted some changes to it, so I did some changes in terms of like they wanted more vocals on the tracks, so I did that. And now they come back and said, a few other tweaks, and then it's like starting now. I mean, I'm still going to do it because I'm trying to run a business here, So they've got the gateway to those tunes getting licensed, but it's getting to a point now where it's like it's not really what the concept was, or it's moving away from the initial concept, and it's like just trying not to be too precious about your own piece of art. It's quite a difficult concept, really.
It is, yeah, and it is I think it's one of the most important things, is to be able to disassociate yourself from your work once you've got it to a stage where you are going public with it, because I think up until that point you have to own it completely. Yeah, and you have to put everything into it, and it has to be you, and it has to reflect you and whatever. But then as soon as you put it out there and other people view it, it ultimately changes, because they haven't got your mind, and they might interpret it in a different way. And that's just how it goes. Like it's well hard sometimes, but that's just it's just how it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I am thinking about doing some self-motivated projects, just releasing my own albums or my own EPs just on Bandcamp, just so that I can have complete creative control. Not expecting them to do particularly well, but it's more about having the balance there in my output, I think, which would just as much make me happy. Just as much.
Like one of my sentences.
Just as much. Very happy.
I think I've realised, more and more that commissions compared to making the work first and someone buying it off me are quite. They're more different than I ever thought. Really, I'm starting to realise that more. That if the painting's already done and someone buys it, I've got more peace of mind that they 100% liked it, because they're just literally seeing the final thing and going, I want that.
Yeah.
But when someone asks for something and for me, I paint it and give it to him, unless they, are drunk texting me, the night after, still saying, Dave, honestly, this painting is amazing. If they're not giving me loads of like messages, I'm just convinced that it wasn't up to quite. It's just I've only recently realised that I'm not sure if I'll ever be comfortable when it's a commission. Sure you like it. Sure you like this. It's just you can't really.
Just a follow-up text. I haven't heard from you yet.
What do you? Yeah, you hate it. I think you just. It's a very funny order where you're doing it based on what someone else wants. But you're using your skill set, and with music, with anything, I mean, it's just your style of making music compared to what clients are asking. That line must just get
Yeah, I can't really do anything that. There's sort of more soundscapey stuff. I mean, we talked about it last week about the all the soundscapes that I do for like all micro stuff that goes on inside your body. That's quite interesting because they're expecting it to be pretty out there and sort of nebulous and kind of like just sort of weird. Because what else are you supposed to do? The ukulele.
I suppose really that similar sort of situation to how I am in my employment. Is that like ultimately you're being paid for your expertise that you built up over the years,
and
you're doing it for them instead of, it's not your own work, is it? It's just you're implementing their ideas that they might not be able to. So if you think it's a bad idea, it's their idea. You
could make quite a funny. You could make quite a funny, like, piss take, like a parody YouTube channel, Rob, where you film gear reviews and just do it all as a big joke.
I think there's a good platform for a taxidermy wildlife photography channel.
Yeah. Well, I thought of one, but I couldn't think of any more jokes. But one where I was like life drawing. The joke was that I was out longboarding and I decided to do some life drawing, and I set up a canvas, and it's me sketching, the white guy that's painted on the street.
Yeah.
The stick man. It's me with the canvas, and it's like it's all close up, and I'm like doing this painting, and then it pans out, and it's me just painting the stick man on the car park.
Do you painting like yourself naked, but in front of a big mirror, so you have to like stand in front of the mirror, naked, painting yourself. Do you know what I mean?
That one.
I don't know how many videos.
That one's for your second channel.
My second channel, yeah.
10th channel.
Yeah.
Me painting myself on a mirror.
Longboard life painting.
I watched in the week, I don't know, you might have seen it, Dave, you may not have, Rob, on Netflix, that Made You Look documentary about that Chinese guy who basically sold $80 million worth of fake arts, like Jackson Pollock's and stuff. Have you not seen it?
No.
I've heard of it. I haven't seen
it.
All
right, well, you should watch that and we'll talk about it next week.
Is he in prison now?
No, he basically... well, you should probably watch it and we'll talk about it next week.
Why don't you watch
quite interesting.
I was looking up, I think... No, I wasn't looking it up. It came up on the YouTube algorithm, and it was the top 10 richest living painters in the world. The top 2 or 3 are like they're billionaires.
Who's at the top? Remember?
Like Jeff Koons and Damien Hirst are pretty close.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Damien Hirst is almost a billionaire, but they're all the artists are all, they're businessmen and such an enormous part of their art. They just really get to the point. This will sell. Let's do this.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I'm not going to go into this documentary too much, but basically they was doing these paintings and they were getting fooling everyone, and people were buying them, and for $8 million and all this stuff. And then it turns out further down the line that they're fake, so they become valueless. So what are you paying for there?
Well, I mean,
genuine fake.
The art world is it's a.
Because you're just paying for the providence of the
world, really. You're paying for stocks in an artist's name or whatever. It's like
and it's good for money laundering as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Stocks and shares, mate. Stocks and shares.
As if we get to this point.
But I like back to feedback. I get feedback on all majority of my work is all client based. In terms of they say they want something, I do it, hand it back, and then you get feedback on it. And it used to really bother me. Well, not really bother me, but it used to be when you go, "This is the best thing. This is the best thing I've ever made."
Yeah.
And then they go, "Can you just change this and this?" And gets annoying. My tactic is I if I can, I don't do any work on it until the next day. So you've got like a whole day just to forget about it.
Heat die down a bit.
Yeah. Because it's hard, because it's someone criticizing you essentially.
Yeah, and I think that's completely natural. For me, it's like it's how people do it. Like I've had people who
how they word it.
And how they approach it. I think there's a difference between saying like I think like there's probably a bit too much in here, and you want to cut that down a bit, to saying I think you should remove it from this point to this point, if you know what I mean. Like I'm thinking about like writing feedback I've had in the past and stuff like that. It's like a general, I don't know, I think it should be quite general without
Broad.
being too prescriptive. But it depends on who's telling you. If they're paying you, you've got to listen to what they do.
Yeah.
But like with us, you're working with a lot of people who like are the marketing people within the business, and like they're all like 10 years younger, and they've done like a media studies GCSE and think that they, you know, know everything about video. And I think it's difficult for people to appreciate sometimes that actually you've got restraints against what you can do, or constraints against what you can do, because of either time, equipment, or just like, you know, how you're shooting things. Like we tend to do on live shoots, we'll have 4 camera setups. So you imagine in a, like, I don't know how big our studio is, like 15 meters by 8 or whatever.
Yeah.
And you imagine 4 cameras in there trying to get 4 unique shots where you're not seeing other cameras. You know, that's a real tricky situation. Oh, well, you should have had a close up on there. And it's like, well, yeah, then you'd have only had 1 camera, because there'd have been a massive camera in the middle of every shot. So it's like, you know, people not understanding your restraints gets quite frustrating. It's like, it would be better for this. And it's like, yeah, I know it would, but we can't do that.
Yeah.
For this reason. It's like...
I was watching someone, and it was a guy. It was saying what actually do producers do in films and music videos and that. Blowing my mind how much a producer does is pretty much all the logistics and working out, even from, you know, all the sort of toilets and everything in the car park spaces, and where all the vans for the filming will all be done. And it was pretty crazy. He was talking about music videos, and he was saying there was 3 main ingredients for how you put together a good video, and it was narrative, then the performance itself, and then experimenting, which is, so for the, you know, trying to sort out a narrative is always, I find, quite a difficult one, especially if the second one, performance, is more where your shit lands. Like for me, performance is the easiest one to work out.
Yeah.
Trying to put in a narrative. And then the third one, where you think of filming, is quite a fun one, experimental, where it's like the shots of, you know, cool lights hitting a, you know, statue or something, and just a random prop in the background and just putting them in. But yeah, I think I had a point there.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, bye.
Where did that come from? I think feedback.
Yeah, I was looking at my notes, and none of that was on there. I still think I'm so red, but I'll turn the heating off.
But yeah, it comes back to not being precious about your work, doesn't it? That's it. You've got to, like, once it's gone, doesn't matter. You've done it to the best that you can and what you think is the right vision for it.
Yeah.
And then you just got to let people get on with it. Because anything like this is so subjective that it's almost impossible to like mind read what people will want, and that's what you got to think. Really, it's just different tastes.
Yeah, I do find it has.
That was the point that I just made.
I find it's helped me shape, or it's changed the way I build a project. Like, you know, almost make it
you just
modular.
Send them a blank file,
or make it like sort of make it so it's easy to like get back into and edit.
Yeah.
Rather than like someone going, because it can be really hard to retrofit concepts into like, in the sense of music, and I'm sure it is in the sense of like a full video edit.
Yeah.
You go, can you just put this, you know, side narrative in the middle? Well, not really. It doesn't make any sense.
That's another point actually that I was going to make. That's kind of slightly adjacent to this, but I think talking about the like preciousness of a project, I think like a bit of artwork is never done, you know, that old saying, and it just gets to a point where you have to let it go. And I think that's right, because you end up just like going over the same thing over and over again, trying to like make it different, and it gets so warped in your own mind that you just can't see it anymore. Yeah. And like if you don't let it go, you just probably do that one project forever if you're not careful. Like you have to just get to the point where you're like, yeah.
So how do you know when a painting's done? Because I imagine it's for me, it would be much harder. I mean, I don't do painting professionally, so it's probably easy for me to say this, but I feel like painting would be harder for me to sort of like say that's finished, because it's there right in front of you and you just another brush stroke or
yeah, just where I remember the amount of times where I've gone to save my painting at the end, like it's laughable the amount of times. It's like, I better save this.
Yeah.
It's an oil painting.
Yeah.
Like a lot. It's funny to say art's never finished, because I totally know what you mean, but I'm surrounded in my house by artwork where it has to feel like it's finished, even if it's not my best work. There's something about it where I can look at it and I just look at the whole painting and just kind of look at it. It's when you look at it and you just always go to a certain point of the painting, you're like, that bit's awful. It's not finished. But if it looks,
Daft Punk one go, man, let it go.
No, if it looks like there's a few that I haven't got hanging up here that a lot of people would think are finished, but I can just see all these big changes that I need to make. But I find a few things, like if it looks how I want it to look when I put it through a phone, which always it doesn't lie to you, the eyes through the phone. You're like, oh, it looks good on there. I think I've always stood by this, that if I'm, a little bit tipsy and I haven't looked at a painting in a while, and I walk into a room and it's there, if I just still enjoy it, then that's a good. I think I might make a video on that actually on art.
Yeah.
How do you know when a painting's finished?
Get slathered, mate.
It's
fucking great that you're a tiger, you are, mate.
Trying to work out how much like B-roll, like how much to add over the top of the content you're making is funny, man, because like arguably you don't need any if you're making a good point, but it should be enjoyable doing filming all the extra bits just to put them over the top. Somehow you make that stressful. Where you've either filmed too much stuff to put over the top or not enough.
I think, for me, that's definitely on my next one. It's like planning sort of almost B-roll concepts and sequences that you can build so that they become a project in themselves, almost a project within a project. So that you're not just heading out and going, oh, that flower looks nice, quick, get a shot of that flower, or whatever. It's got a purpose and it tells part of the story, part of the narrative, mate.
I am here.
That'd be quite a funny YouTube video, like the urgency of taking a picture of a flower, and you're just always on edge that I need to get and take a photo of a flower. I think that would be funny. It probably wouldn't be. Wouldn't it? The amount of failures like that where I set up a camera.
That's what your second channel's for, isn't it?
Well, the ones that I can't barely even class as a failure because they're just such short. They're like, I'll try it over and over again, and an idea that I went to bed thinking this is funny, and then I try it the next day and it's like, this is not funny, it's not interesting, there's nothing about this that needs to go any further, let's just leave it there. It's tough, it's tough, man.
Tough. And that's interesting, isn't it? It's having that vision before you go out and tackle it, what sort of way you want to be, because you obviously like quite a lot of humor in your videos, don't you?
I'm wondering whether I keep wanting to just sack that off, that trying to be humorous in it, because it feels like one of the hardest parts. But then when you do quite a serious video, you think, well, I'm not that. Why am I trying? Really,
but I think having the humour bit in yours must put a lot of pressure on, though, because you're pretty much coming up with scripts for characters, aren't you? Like, with that rape stuff. It was really good, but like, I can just imagine how long it must have taken. And like,
it did.
I think,
and like a lot of it's not that funny as well. That's what makes it even more hilarious. It's like when you film it and you cut it together and you think, wow, that seemed funny in a script, and you just don't know until you film something.
No, that's it.
What it might be like.
Amazing.
My joke for one of them was going to be to do art videos where it's just all intro, and the actual bit where I give a tip is about 5 seconds long at the end. And every week it's like I write a new piece of music for like, it's Dave's Hard Tip Fridays. And I sat on the end of my bed with this idea in my head. And I wrote about maybe 10 songs, just different styles with an acoustic singing and in different styles. And I recorded them on my phone. And like, I was so prolific making these stupid songs. And yeah, it just builds up, and then every week the footage would be different for the intro, and it'd be like me doing something that goes with the music, and then at the very end it cuts to me in the studio, and it's like I go to say something and the battery runs out. You know, it's like a little joke.
Yeah,
but then you just
we could probably do an album of stupid songs. I think we could probably get.
We did, mate. You lost your hard drive.
Yeah, like one which is well mixed. I reckon I could get that picked up these days.
One day when we're all allowed to be in a room together, we can.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Make it a massive part of this podcast that we just make stupid music.
Be good, wouldn't it?
That's one of the things I'm looking to do with the new space is make it a slightly better recording environment. Not for drums or anything like that, but just for like, you know, acoustic instruments.
You know those videos where they re-record all the instruments completely out of tune,
right?
They're called shreds.
I've not seen that.
And they became massive. And I always remember, I was thinking once that they must have, you know, like a pretty decent recording studio. And it's like, yeah, this is where we record the bass completely out of tune. And we've got this really, you know, we've put a lot of time into building the studio, you know, to really get a good quality recording of an out of tune piano.
That is quite a funny concept, isn't it?
It's good. You'll have to look them up, man. Shreds. The Ed Sheeran one is
some
brilliant.
Of the funniest shit. Yeah.
Right.
I watched one. Someone showed me the Sam Smith one in a restaurant in Italy, and I was on the floor with laughter. It was like, you know, like
Jesse J.
Horrible when all the violins come in at once and they're all out of tune. It's horrible.
It's probably quite hard to do, isn't it?
It's done so well as well. It's not like, you know, it's done really well, really badly. It's very good.
Laughing just thinking about it. The Ed Sheeran one it just seems like it goes on forever. It's like really creepy.
There's a channel that gets like, you know, you can get some songs, quite a lot of pop songs these days. You can get the acapella, like the proper studio quality acapella. And there's a channel that just puts the acapella over the music video, and then just puts all the actual sound effects that would be there if it was just someone singing to a camera. So like all like, you know, just fucking clattering around of props and all this shit. They're quite funny.
What they do in those shreds videos is they stick to the editing of the music video. So if it just suddenly shows 2 seconds of the drummer, they'll just in that section they'll suddenly like the horrible
like
clanging
mic noise
bits.
The mic.
That's a good idea.
Oh right, yeah. It's funny as you could possibly make that with like they've really like gone for it. There's a really good one of Kings of Leon, and it's, you know, it's at a festival, so they've put all the you know, the festival noise of the crowd, which must be pretty easy to get as a acapella, and it just makes it sound like they are. I've ended up watching it again, showing somewhere else, and there's points when I'm watching it thinking, is this just them playing out of tune? Because there's even a bit where they kind of stop, and you think they're stopping because they just can't remember how to play their instruments. It's that bad, but they're just breaking down the song.
I've played out of tune I'm pretty sure we've played some songs completely out of tune.
I've somehow played out of tune on the drums.
Right, we wandered off a bit on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks for anyone who was watching.
Cheers, man.
Which I'd be amazed if anyone's still watching.
Yeah, it's, 3 people on, I think, at the minute.
Hi, guys.
So we got any? I think
Give us
you
a
should
like.
watch, if you can. You should watch this "Made You Look" on Netflix. Do you have Netflix, Rob? You got it, haven't you? Yeah. It's called "Made You Look," a true story about fake art. It's like an hour and a half long. That would be good to talk about next week.
Cool.
And we'll do it on the book review.
Yeah. Yeah. read a full book this week.
Read the Bible this week.
Is anyone reading a book at the moment? What is it?
I'm reading about a lady who travelled around Ethiopia by herself in the 60s. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I can't top that at all.
No,
I can't really.
It's quite like, I didn't know anything about Ethiopia. I mean, I still don't, but it's quite interesting. It's got a lot of history and stuff in there.
I've got 2 on the go. I've got Larry Niven's Ringworld, which is a sci-fi, and then I've got Seafarers, which is a book all about ocean-dwelling birds.
Oh yeah,
very nice.
Yeah,
who's on the cover?
Gannet, mate. Gannet. Yeah.
I tried one, Genius of Birds, which is my bookshelf behind me.
Yeah.
I tried one on Andy Warhol, and a few of those guys used to all live in London together. But I much prefer audiobooks. Every time I try and read, I just like read a few pages, and then I just end up going to sleep.
Yeah. That's my main use for books, is to go to sleep, which is bad.
Pillows.
Have you ever just opened it and got too tired and gone to sleep? Just literally gone to start reading and you go, I'm too tired.
Yeah.
Right.
Very good.
Yeah.
Right,
so we'll
nice
do that.
one.
We'll talk about that next week. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Bye.